Good day, subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Jeremy. This is the Financial Education Channel, and today we're talking about Under Armour stock. Under Armour stock has just hit its 52-week low today. This stock has just been crashing for a while, and now it is the lowest it's ever been. Today it hit $17.90, which would be the lowest the price has ever been in the last 52 weeks. The lowest the price has been in the last few years, guys. This is just a disaster stock at the moment. So we got to look at this stock and say, is it a buy, guys? Should we be buying Under Armour? Should we be shorting Under Armour, or should we just not even touch this one? So first off, what we got to talk about here is Under Armour CEO basically made national news yesterday. I hate it when CEOs make national news. You know why? Because usually it has something to do with politics. Usually they said something or did something, and that's how it got in national news. So Under Armour CEO ignites boycott threats after resigning from Trump Council. Under Armour CEO Kevin Plank resigned from President Trump's Manufacturing Council Monday amid growing scrutiny over Trump's response to the violent white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. So it's been very interesting. Every time a CEO makes national news, it's almost always because they said something politically that, or they did something politically, they made a move that a lot of people didn't like and it made national news. I remember Steve Wynn used to make national news a lot of times when Obama was president. So there was this whole story that blew up in national news about George Clooney storms off. They were having dinner or something. Steve Wynn called Obama an asshole. And then there was, this is back in 2011, Wynn CEO. I remember I was on this conference call when he did this, and this wasn't the only conference call he went off on Obama, but this is one of them. Wynn CEO goes on epic anti-Obama rant on a company conference call. So the reason Steve Wynn could kind of get away with doing that is because you got to understand, with Steve Wynn's business, 80% plus of his business, as far as the profits and the revenues that come in for that business, are Asian related. They're from customers from China and things like that. Like Macau's 100% Asian, right? And that's 75% of Wynn's business is Macau, right? And then even the big portion of the Las Vegas business is people coming from Hong Kong and Singapore and all these different countries that have tons of money and they go gamble. I've been to the Wynn, I go to the Wynn at least once or twice a month because I live here in Las Vegas. So I go there and I just observe things. I just walk around, do whatever, have a drink and just walk around, right? Every single, the Wynn has a high limit rooms where you have to bet at least like $1,000 or $10,000 plus a hand, right? Every single time I've ever in the history been to Wynn or Encore, looked in the high limit rooms, I've never once seen a white person in there, never once seen a black person in there, never once seen someone from Latin America in one of those rooms. Every single time, and I am not exaggerating, every single time it's an Asian person who doesn't even know how to speak English. That's 100% of the time. So Wynn could get away with, calling Obama names and, saying, going off on Obama and those kinds of things because he didn't have to. His customers, the majority of his customers don't give an F whether he's a Republican, Democrat, what he said about that, as long as he's got the back of China. And Steve Wynn, believe me, he says nothing but good things about China all the time, as he should, because he gets the majority of his company's revenue from China and profits from China. And as a CEO, your number one thing you have to look out for, your number one thing over everything, when you sign up to be a CEO and you hire employees, those employees are your number one focus, or should be your number one focus over everything. And you got to realize every decision you make, whether it's politically related, whether you want to go, drinking and driving, it don't matter what you're doing. Those decisions come down to your employees, and you will be judged if something makes national news and you have the chance to lose massive amounts of employees' jobs. And those employees have families. So your decision making as CEO, whether you think, this is great that I'm doing this is great that I'm saying this or doing that, just realize it has potential repercussions. I know people literally that would not watch an NFL game last year because Colin Kaepernick sat down during the national anthem. I always stand up for the national anthem, no matter what. I don't care if I got a cramp in my ass. I don't care if my hamstring's torn. I'm standing up. But I don't give a rat's crap if Colin Kaepernick was standing up or sitting down. I'm still watching NFL games. That's not, that's the beautiful thing about the United States of America. You want to do that? You can do that, and you don't have to get shot in the head. If you did that in North Korea, good luck. They're going to take you out back and shoot you in the head, right? And that's the beauty about the United States. You can do that, and there's no repercussions as far as you're going to be, tortured or something like that. That's my opinion, but there were massive amounts of people that did not watch NFL last year, and ratings went down for NFL games last year simply because Colin Kaepernick and the whole controversy, and the NFL never suspended him. And so tons of people that felt like the NFL was in the wrong literally boycotted the NFL last year, and ratings went down. And for NFL, after ratings have been exploding for years with NFL, I mean, you look at what the ratings were for some of those main games, guys, they were down drastically. So when I look at this now, I see a potential of a lot of backlash coming toward Under Armour. You got to understand, hate's a lot stronger than love. So just because, you know, a CEO comes out against something, doesn't mean all these people are going to run in and go buy Under Armour products now. Generally, the hate's much stronger, but people will boycott it. So now you see a Nike hat there, you see an Under Armour hat, and I can guarantee you a lot of Trump supporters now will not buy that Under Armour hat, even though they might have bought Under Armour out the place before for themselves and their kids. Now they're going to probably go for that Nike hat, guys. And that is the reality. And, you know, Under Armour's already had to do job cuts and job layoffs and whatnot. And we'll see if they have to end up doing more because of this. But your number one focus when you sign up for CEO and you start hiring employees is those employees, and you got to look out for them over everything, guys. So it's crazy to see, you know, CEOs want to get involved with this or that and try to make. You're not a commentator when you're a CEO. Your job is to expand the business and make sure those employees have jobs, and hopefully they get raises every few years. Because guess what? No one's going to give those employees a job. The government ain't going to give those people a job. And if all the jobs the government gives, guess what it comes from? Tax revenue from business owners and employees. So if you don't have the business owners and you don't have the employees and people don't have jobs, then you don't have anything. Your freaking entire country is a joke at the end of the day. It all comes down to business owners, and it all comes down to employees at the end of the day. They're the ones that make the whole thing happen, guys. So that's just something to take into account. So now let's really look at this stock. This stock, obviously, we just talked about, it's at its 52-week low. Trailing PE is a 45 on this one, guys, a 45. And you look at the forward PE, it's a 40. So right off the bat, I'm like, holy smokes, this company is trading at an insane multiple. I mean, we're talking about 45 trailing PE, but look at the forward PE is only a 40, guys. A 40, that's super high. And that's like, they're not expected to be much more profitable over the next 12 months than they were the last 12 months. When you go from a 45 to a 40, that's not that great. If you go from a 45 to, say, like a 26 or 22 or something like maybe a Facebook does, then that's impressive. But this isn't that good, guys. So let's look at some numbers behind Under Armour here. So revenue was up 9% to 1.1 billion. That's pretty good. Up 8% currency neutral. So that's, I mean, revenue up 9%, that's good. But when you've got a company trading in the 40s for a multiple, 9% isn't that impressive, guys. We can see here, if we look at the updated 2017 outlook, and this is what I really like to look at. Net revenue is expected to grow 9 to 11% versus previous expectations of 11 to 12%. So they're expecting growth to not be nearly what they had previously thought, reflecting moderation in the company's North American business. In the company's North American business, you got to understand, Under Armour sells mainly to people in North America. Some people in North America are very divided politically, right? So just some things to take into account here. Gross margin on a reported basis is expected to be down approximately 160 basis points compared to 46.4% in 2016. On a reported basis, operating income is expected to reach approximately 160 to 180 million. It's not that good for a company that has a market cap this one does. Excluding the impact of a restructuring plan, adjusted operating income is expected to be 280 to 300 million. Interest and other expense net is approximately 40 million. On a reported basis, full-year diluted earnings per share is expected to be 18 cents to 21 cents, excluding the impact of the restructuring plan. Full year, by the way, the restructuring plan is like, I think they're cutting about 250 jobs. Full-year adjusted diluted earnings per share is expected to reach 37 to 40 cents, guys. So, not that great, not that great. Let's look at this here. Cash and cash equivalents is on the balance sheet. Let's look at the balance sheet here. So 165 million they got in cash. Then if you go to other long-term assets, so that's probably, you know, they could categorize that as many different things. That's probably their long-term investments there. About 87 million, so that's not bad. But then if we go down and we look here at the long-term debt, they got $777 million in long-term debt. So they have more in debt than they have in cash and investments. That's always a bad sign for me looking at a company, especially when it's business to consumer. Just a thing I do not like. And it's not like they're in a super capital intensive business at the end of the day. Then we look at this, guys. So Nike reported earnings the other day, or not the other day, a couple weeks ago. And Nike's earnings they came in at 60 cents versus analysts were expected for 50 cents of earnings. Revenue also beat at $8.68 billion versus $8.38 billion. So, look at this. Nike continues to create both near-term wins in today's dynamic environment and lasting foundation for future growth, CEO Parker said. So Nike's got some phenomenal growth. And then I looked into this and I was like, the Nike founder, Phil Knight, the kind of guy that's like, the head of the company as far as, the figurehead of the company, the one that founded it, has he really gotten into anything politically as far as national news? And this is like the most nationalist news I could see from him, and it was like back page story type stuff. Nike founder Phil Knight isn't feeling the burn. He talks about how I do believe that the international trade agreements benefit both nations always. Knight said, pointing to North American Free Trade Agreement. Everybody railing on NAFTA right now, but since 1996, when we signed NAFTA, the gross national product of the United States has risen 3 times. Do we really think it has gone up more than that if we didn't have the trade agreement? So that was like the biggest news story, and that was like back page type stuff. So it's interesting, the Under Armour CEO is making this national political news, and the company is struggling. And then Nike, the face of Nike, the co-founder Phil Knight, he's kind of stayed away from a lot of this stuff, and suddenly Nike's doing great. So I don't know, maybe it has nothing. It could have absolutely nothing to do with politics. It could not. I just think it's very important to pay attention to these things, because I used to be a little naive and think like, people don't really care. Like if you come out this way or that way. And then I learned and I met people in real life who will literally not support certain companies because that company had, a CEO that said something against what their president was or what their congressman was or whatever, guys. So something to take into account there. So tell me if you're buying Under Armour stock right now. I'm absolutely not buying this company. It's got ridiculously high trailing PE and forward PE. It's not expected to be much more profitable. They're in national news for the wrong type of headlines. You never want to get involved in politics. You're losing your employees' jobs that are now going to have to be on probably government plans, right? Or try to get a job somewhere else or something like that. It's never a good look, man. Your number one focus as a CEO is those employees' jobs at the end of the day, and their families are counting on you, your company being able to put food on the table each day. So that's what I have to say about that. If you just came across this channel, you may want to subscribe. We talk personal finance on the channel. We talk entrepreneurship. I'm an actual business owner. I give away so many business tips. We talk stock market investing more than anything. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.